is Overreaction Monday night. It's a little bit later in the day than we normally would film. A lot of things going on in the world, Jack. You got Monday Night Football. You got all kinds of crazy things going on at the office here. We're filming around 7:30, so this probably be dropping on your YouTube feed around 8 o'clock Eastern, 8:10, 8:15. And we're going to 7 things that the Michigan football fan base has been talking about over the last roughly 48 hours, and since the Wolverines beat Nebraska, it's a little over 48 hours at this point, since Michigan beat Nebraska on Saturday. Let's take a look at the 7 things, starting with number 1, and this is something I've been talking about for multiple weeks, right? Maybe even going back to last season, maybe even going back to the end of the 2023 season, looking forward, is the wide receivers. And the wide receiver drops are now becoming a serious issue because you had a bunch more in the game on Saturday against Nebraska. Now, take a look at this stat here. Michigan is up there among the leaders. I haven't seen if they're actually leading. I saw someone tweet that out, but I haven't been able to verify that they're leading the nation. But if they're not, they've got to be up in the top 5, top 10 worst, with 11 drops so far this season through 4 games. So you're averaging almost 3 per game. And those maybe don't show up as much against Central Michigan or, against New Mexico. But when you're losing to Oklahoma and you've got drops, when you are having, drives that fall apart against Nebraska here and there, those start becoming a little more important. So you got 2 players here, right? 2 guys who are fighting for starting roles. 2 guys who have really been in that rotation of top 3 or 4 wide receivers in Samaj Morgan, who's kind of become someone I don't have much confidence in any facet of play for this team. And then Shannon Goodwin, who I actually thought had some upside, it looked like early on, but hasn't really done much in the last few games. They are currently tied for second in college football. I don't even know who's number 1, but they've got 4 drop passes each. And these aren't like, out passes where it's like behind him trying to go like this or something like that. It's a catch like Samaj Morgan had where it goes right in your hand, or Channing Goodwin right over the shoulder. And maybe it was a half inch, 3 inches too far to be a perfectly thrown pass. But if it hits you in the hand over your shoulder, that's what's called a drop. They don't count them drops unless they are necessarily catchable balls. They've got to be catchable balls. They can't be some random thing that you get a fingertip on or anything like that. Samaj Morgan continues to underwhelm for me. He continues to be a guy I don't understand why he is on the field. And I think most of you agree with me, right? Because every time I tweet something about him, when he makes a mistake in the game where he doesn't deserve to be a high contributing player, a starting wide receiver, your starting punt returner, I get a ton of engagement, right? There's, dozens and dozens and dozens, if not sometimes hundreds, replies to the comments. There's 500, 600, 700, 800 likes in the tweet. There's 50 and 60 and 70 retweets, and it gets, 100,000 impressions. So clearly, this is a topic that a lot of you feel the same about. And of course, you always have the people who are saying, like, that's not true, he's playing well. But that's like 5%, 10% of Michigan fans. 85, 90%, maybe even more. I think it's a 90-10 issue. 90% of Michigan fans or more are not satisfied with the play of Samaj Morgan. Before I talk about Peyton O'Leary in a second, I didn't want to just throw out one other thing. They put him in the game, right? They put him in the game in the first quarter. I think it was the first drive, which I think was a really good play call. I think it was the right play call for the right moment to get Michigan going, to loosen some things up. They throw the ball out to Samaj Morgan, and kind of one of these orbit style screen passes, and he stops. And whether he sold it right or Nebraska's defense just didn't see it right, you had Donovan McCulley wide open by about 15 yards behind any wide receiver, right? Behind any defensive back. And Samaj Morgan threw it probably 7-8 yards versus being on stride, and 5 yards behind where really, McCulley was even standing at the point. He kind of had to turn around and dive back towards, out of the end zone towards the goal line to even make an attempt for it. It was an absolutely brutal pass. I don't know why Michigan would have put Samaj Morgan passing that ball, because you might not remember this. You might not even know this, Jack. And I'll have to double check. I just thought about this as I was talking about this. Donovan McCulley. I am fairly certain Donovan McCulley, Michigan 6'5", 215, 220-pound wide receiver, right? I am fairly certain he started a game like 3 years ago at quarterback in Indiana. I think they had an injury or two. I think he was actually their starting quarterback for a game. You may have to look back at the game log and see if he made any passes, more than a couple back in 2022 timeframe, maybe even 2023. But why would you not reverse it? Have Samaj Morgan go out, right? He's at least the wide receiver that's there, and then the guy who's throwing passes in college football games, who is now your, I guess, leading wide receiver in Donovan McCulley to throw that ball. But Samaj Morgan continues to underwhelm. He's not doing it as a receiver outside of a couple plays here and there. He's not doing it at a punt returner at all, and certainly not as a Donovan Edwards style, roll out wide receiver, running back pass to hit a guy for a touchdown. The Don hit basically every one of those he had over his 4-year career. Samaj, not so much. But how about Peyton O'Leary? If you remember back to last year's Ohio State game and then the 2024 spring game heading into the 2024 season, Peyton O'Leary was like the star receiver in the 2024 spring game. He didn't get as much run throughout the season, but when Michigan needed an absolute play from a quarterback and wide receiver to win the biggest game of the year for them, maybe the biggest upset in this rivalry, I don't know, maybe even since 1969, who was it? It was what's his name? The quarterback, Jack. Who am I thinking of? He was the 6th-string quarterback, Michigan's quarterback last year. Who am I thinking of? White guy. Davis Ward. I'm like, what am I thinking of there? Rolling out on the run, J.J. McCarthy style, just rifling it. And who caught that ball along the sideline in the fourth quarter to give a Michigan chance to keep a drive rolling? That was Peyton O'Leary, but I don't even know if I've seen him in the game. Maybe he's got a couple snaps here, but I don't understand why Michigan continues to force Samaj Morgan, continue to force Channing Goodwin and others into this game when you clearly have guys who have maybe not as much upside or much talent, but who at least aren't going to drop the ball every damn time you've thrown it to them. And that's my take on the wide receivers. I think it needs to change, and it needs to change fast. These guys are not getting it done. All right, I've been going viral, Jack. I went viral a couple times on Saturday, and then I tweeted this one out on Sunday. I tweeted out, my wife asked me if the dishes were done, and I yelled, CJ Stroud! She came downstairs, Jack. She hugged me. She knew they were washed. If you're not familiar with the term, wash is a term. We used to say washed up back in the day. Now it's just washed. So you get it? CJ Stroud, oh, they're washed, just like him, because people like to take a shot to J.J. McCarthy, other fan bases, Jack. But, man, Stroud has got an 0-3 team. I think a lot of people were saying this could be a potential AFC championship team. This could be his big breakout year. He was better his rookie year than he now is the first 3 games of his 3rd year, and is kind of continuing the trajectory of Ohio State quarterbacks. The more they're in the NFL, the more film people get on them, the worse they become. I thought it was a funny tweet, and it blew up. It had like 21,000 likes as of like 2 or 3 hours ago, Jack. 1 million impressions. As people were loving that one, 700-800 what's it called, bookmarks, and something like 500-700 retweets. So if you guys want funny ass tweets like this, all kinds of Michigan football commentary, go ahead and follow me. It's at James Yoder. I'll put the link to my Twitter account. It's just at James Yoder, first name, last name, at Twitter. Next 10 people who follow me, let's just call it after 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. Next 10 people, I am going to follow you back. Get in there, follow me. I'll give you a follow back on Twitter at James Yoder. Let's talk about overreaction number 2 for this Michigan football team. ESPN has now got Michigan back into the thick of things in their playoff predictor, which I kind of think is crap in general. But they've got Michigan as the 17th best odds to make the playoff with a 31% chance in their playoff predictor, right? So Ohio State's number 1 at like 60-some%, and you kind of go down from there. If you break it down to me, and I want to pull up Michigan's schedule really quick. I should have had this up. You've got a bye week. Then you've got Wisconsin, right? I think what we've seen with Wisconsin, that should be a victory. They've got on the road to USC, Washington, which is looking like a tougher game than we anticipated maybe at the beginning of the year. They're going to have a test this week against Ohio State. They're hosting them. We'll see how that shakes out. Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland. Maryland's got a really good quarterback this year. They've got a guy that says, like, hey, he's going to be a hot commodity in the transfer portal maybe if he wants to go to an SEC school or another Big Ten school or something like that. But I still think Michigan should win that game even though it's on the road. So if you see how things break down, for me, it is USC, Washington, Ohio State the rest of the year. Michigan's got to win 2 of those 3 games, right? If you win 2 of those 3 games, if you go on the road and beat USC, I think that playoff prediction go up to 50%, right? Because it's kind of just saying like, well, are you going to lose both games to Washington and Ohio State? I bet the odds to beat Washington at home are probably going to be 70%. The odds to beat Ohio State as of right now are probably about 38%, 42%. So you kind of combine those things together. I think Michigan will be in a really good spot. I think it's going to come down to the USC. If you get that win, I think you're going to beat Washington, and then we'll see what happens to Ohio State. It's always beat Ohio State again. But I want you guys to predict Michigan's 2025 regular season record. I am not changing from what I said at the beginning of the year. I think I said 10-2. I might have said 9-3, but I'm going to go 10-2, which is what I think this team needs to make the college football playoff. I'm going to go 10-2. Go down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And if you put your record, let me know if you think that gets them in the playoffs, right? If it's 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, then clearly you're in that conversation. So let me know what that playoff and postseason appearance or likelihood looks like. ESPN's got 31%. Let me know your percent as well. Third overreaction, Jaishawn Barham. I'm not even telling you this, but him moving to defensive end from linebacker, maybe the best personnel move in all of college football, and he could be the best defensive player in all of college football. We'll talk about Barham here in a moment, but we have been scouring the internet. Jack found this one a little bit ago. Good job, Jack. Good job. Hey, give yourself a thumbs up. Give yourself a thumbs up. A 47 brand, which is really high quality stuff. It's not the cheap stuff. 47 brand Michigan National Championship long sleeve. It's got the helmet. It's got a great logo up there, National Champions. This bad boy is on sale. Go to the link, chatsports.com/champs sale. Chatsports.com, champs sale, 2 S's, right? Champs sale, back to back. Don't mess that up. The link is down in the comments, and it is the second paragraph of the description. We're always going to put the links there for Fanatics, for our apparel partners, down in the second paragraph. Go get this bad boy. It is only $22, originally $48, on sale now for $22. That's well over 50% off. And going on, I think I saw until the 26th, free shipping as well. They pop up a little promo code if you go to that link to get free shipping. So $22, free shipping with tax would be like $25 out the door. Get one for yourself. Get one for a friend. Get one for somebody. Stash it for a couple months for Christmas. Chatsports.com/champ sale. Let's go back to Jaishawn Barham. I mean, he looks like a combination to me of, what's the Penn State guy who just got drafted by the Abdul Carter, right? Micah Parsons, and Devin Bush when he was at Michigan. Jackie, I'm not sure if you were a big Michigan guy back in 2016, 2017, 2018. Devin Bush, absolute menace. And with Barham, with the dreads coming out the back of the helmet, that number 1, right? Bush had number 10. I know Bush is a linebacker too, but when he came off the edge to kind of go after the quarterback, he looks like him. The emergence of Cole Sullivan, who is turning into a star for this team, the continued great play of Ernest Hausman and Jimmy Roller, proving to be a serviceable, if not better than serviceable, linebacker in there. Gives Michigan 3 great linebacking options, and maybe 2 strong out linebacking options, maybe 2 greats with Sullivan and Hausman. Gives Barham the ability to just be a defensive end. And if you think about his future, right? A couple sacks last week against Central Michigan, another sack against Nebraska in his 2 games, primarily at defensive end. If you think about his future, linebackers don't get big contracts. Micah Parsons was a linebacker in college. He started working out, as a defensive end. They kind of put him there as a standing defensive end, kind of like Aiden Hutchinson, a little bit like that. Towards the end of his 3rd year, he goes in the NFL. They change his position from linebacker to just rushed edge, defensive end, right? And all of a sudden, he's getting $50 million a year contracts. If Micah Parsons was still a linebacker, which is kind of in his natural position, he'd probably getting $12 million a year, $15 million a year. That rush edge where your job is to just go crazy in a passing league in the NFL and get the quarterback. Jaishawn Barham, I believe at this point, he is trending to be a first-round draft pick if he continues this trajectory of play against USC and against Michigan State and Washington and Ohio State, and you beat Ohio State again. You go to the college football playoff and you show the whole world he is having himself a hell of a year. And I think that switch, which I wasn't a big fan of in the offseason, I didn't think Michigan had the horses for it at linebacker. I was wrong, and Jaishawn Barham might be the best defensive player in college football. How about the Moore boys? You've got 2 Moore boys back with Michigan. Rod Moore played around 20 or so snaps, got in the game. He hasn't played in like almost 400 days. Jack, we were at the last game Rod Moore played January 8th. We're Jay Aders here at the Michigan Football Report. Type J8 if you know what I'm talking about down in the comments if you watched the show for a while. And he hasn't played since the national championship game, which is wild to think about, right? Missed the entire 2024 season, missed the entire spring practice last year, missed all of fall camp, everything. And the first 3 games this year, got into the game, and he is a much-needed addition. And I'll tell you why. Outside of his play, and if he doesn't return back to where he was in 2022 and 2023, okay. But what I think this team is missing, which I'm going to talk about, which is my number 5, is someone who can kind of be a leader. I think this defense has a lot of good players on it, but I'm not sure if I've identified anyone who is a true leader on this defense, a vocal leader, a guy who's been there, a guy who knows how to win national champions, know how to beat Ohio State again 3 straight years like he did, knows how to win at the highest level and play at the highest level. play for Jim Harbaugh. That is what Michigan's defense has been missing. And I think that, outside of his play, right, I'm not sure he's ever going to get back to the levels he was. That is what Rod Moore brings to the table. Also, welcome back, Sherrone Moore. He didn't make the trip to Nebraska, but at 12:01 a.m. on Sunday, just after midnight, he is returned and did a press conference today as Michigan's head coach after a 2-game suspension. Reminder, next 10 people who follow me on Twitter, a.k.a. K-A-K-A, X, at James Yoder, you will get amazing tweets like this, million views, 22,000 retweet or likes, etc. I'm making fun of Ohio State pretty much half the time. I'm giving great Michigan insights the other half of the time. I always have MSU and Michigan State fans in my mentions coming at me. So help drown them out. Help be a positive, good change in the Twitter college football streets. Follow me. I'll follow back the next 10 people after about 8:15 Eastern here on Monday. Let's also get to 36,000 subscribers here on the channel. We're about 400 or so away. Thanks so much to about the 100 people who followed us between Thursday and Friday's video last week. Got about 400 more to go till we hit 36,000. Overreaction number 5. This team, this coaching staff, these players on offense a lot, they've got a little lack of discipline. And Brandyn Hillman is one, right? Brandyn Hillman's actions in this game, in a lot of ways, could have cost Michigan the game. And I'll tell you kind of what it was. Number one, he got called for a targeting a personal foul and a targeting, which would have cost him, the first half of the Wisconsin game. But they overturned it, rightfully so. It wasn't a targeting call. But he does take a little bit of liberties in how he uses his body, how he uses his helmet. He's right on the cusp of targeting a lot, and that could cost him valuable playing time when Michigan absolutely needs him in the future. So he's got to tone that in a little bit. You don't want him to become, a wimp or anything. But I think the more egregious one is that after Nebraska went 3-and-out, which they were doing left and right in the second half on Saturday, he just went over and taunted the Nebraska sideline, got him a personal foul penalty, kept their drive going. Nebraska got a field goal and a 10-point score into a 1-score game, and had Michigan not executed that long 8 minutes and 46-second drive to get the field goal there towards the end, I don't know if they would have necessarily won this game, and Brandyn Hillman's play and his actions, his taunting, could have cost Michigan this game. What else could have cost them the game is the coaching staff, right? I thought it was so obvious in real time. It's like a video game thing, Jack. You would be like, okay, I don't want to give this guy a one shot from half court, midfield, to throw a Hail Mary. I'm going to make him punt to me. Maybe they drop the punt. Maybe something happens there. But worst case, he's not going to take that shot on 4th down to the end zone right before halftime with 26 seconds left. He's going to punt to me, because if he were to take the shot and doesn't get it, all I need is one 15-yard completion. I'm back in field guard, maybe even 10 yards, with Dominic Zavada hitting 57-yarders and 56-yarders and 60-yarders here for this team. So I thought it was not only a lack of recognition by Biff Poggi, it was a lack of organizational control and communication amongst the entire Michigan football coaching staff. Someone should have said something to Biff. I just don't understand why every single person on the field didn't catch it, but seemingly every single fan watching the game and anybody on Twitter who wanted to mouth off on it certainly knew that was not a good move for Michigan. One other thing, too, that I didn't really put in my script here that I just kind of popped in my head is undisciplined from Evan Link, right? On the last true possession of Michigan as they're up by 7, I guess it was up by 7. Yeah, up by 7. I guess second to last possession. Trying to go up by 14. They ended up going up by 10 with a field goal. Is they ran Bryce Underwood. I tweeted this out on Saturday. Got a ton of engagement to the left. Now, had Bryce just sprinted all the way to the corner and dove, kind of like Michael Penix did back in 2020 against Penn State, if you recall that game, he probably gets in. But there are 2 defenders and 2 blockers. I think it was Haynes. It was one of the running backs. I think it was Haynes and Link kind of coming out there. And there's 2 defenders. Haynes engages the guy. There's like a linebacker or safety coming down from this side. Bryce is coming this way. All Link's got to do is basically stop what he's doing and just put a hand on this guy right here. And Bryce Underwood kind of just dances into the end zone. But he looks at the guy coming right at him, right at Bryce Underwood behind him. And instead of just engaging with that guy, he double teams the guy that the Michigan running back is already blocking. And of course, this guy comes right in untouched and tackles Bryce Underwood. I know people are saying Underwood should have just, sprinted out there. He wasn't running fast, whatever. But you've got to recognize football plays. If a guy's coming right at you, he's blocked, he's not, block him. It just didn't make any sense. And I think that kind of discipline may cost Michigan in the future. Got 2 more overreactions. Is Justice Haynes the best running back in the country? He's had a start unlike any Michigan football player ever. And I told you last week, first player ever to put up 300-yard games in his first 3 games on the roster. He's the only one. Now he's done it 4 straight games, right? He's got 3 or 4 touchdowns over 50 yards. And I got this wrong. ChatGPT let me down. Grok helped me out. So if you guys are looking for your proper AI tool, so I was wrong when I tweeted this out that got a ton of engagement, that he is the first player in college football history, Haynes is, to go over 100 rushing 4 straight games in these first 4 games he's on someone's roster. So, true freshman, whatever, doesn't matter. You're on the roster. Did you get it? He is not. I thought he was the first one ever, but I was proven wrong. He is the second ever. Adrian Peterson did it in 2004, where he started off like 6 or 7 games over 100 yards as a true freshman. But I think Justice Haynes, now people are going to say, well, he's a junior. Hey, whatever. On the roster is on the roster. 537 yards through 4 games. And had he played more against Central Michigan, against New Mexico, this could be up to 650, 700 yards so far. He reportedly asked the coaches to give Jordan Marshall a touchdown in the Central Michigan game a week ago. So he wasn't kind of stealing all the stats. So he could have 8, maybe even 9 touchdowns had he been a little more selfish. But nevertheless, I think he had one call back. Didn't he have like a 60 or 70-yard touchdown call back in one of the games too? So he could have a 60 or 70-yard touchdown. Another one that he gave up to Jordan Marshall. If you think about the yards he gave up or got called back, it would be like 610 yards, 8 touchdowns in 4 games, be averaging well over $150. Second player ever to debut with a college football team on the roster with over 100 yards, him and Adrian Peterson. I mean, that's kind of rare company. So I want to know from you guys, let's just think about the season. I don't care if you think Michigan plays 12 or 13 games, right? A bowl game, or if you think they go to the Big Ten championship game and play 3 or 4 games in the playoff. It doesn't matter to me. Just at the end of the year, how many rushing yards do you think Justice Haynes will finish with? I'm going to go off the cuff. I don't think it's going to go crazy like 2,000 yards. I think it's 1,475 yards is what he is going to end this season with. Let me know what you guys think. Predict how many yards he'll finish the 2025 whole season with down in the comments. Hello, freshman defensive backs. This defensive backfield in the future with what they've got coming in next year with the contributions of guys this year is looking so good. I think this defensive backfield is, like 8 or 9 players deep that you feel that you can trust. I mean, Jair Hill sometimes, the multi-year starter, is one of the guys who makes me the most nervous. Jayden Sanders, the true freshman, I feel like he's making plays on the balls. You've got 3 true freshmen making an impact on a road against an undefeated Nebraska team with an NFL first-round level quarterback there. Even though he threw for 300 yards, these guys are making plays. They're in there, and they are going to be the foundation of a great defensive backfield. Maybe a defensive backfield like the one in 2023 with Mikey Sainristil and Rod Moore and Will Johnson and others that won Michigan National Championship in J.J. McCarthy's junior year. Maybe these guys get it done with Bryce Underwood, his sophomore or junior year in a couple years. You've got Jayden Sanders, right? The number 229 player overall as a recruit in 2025 class. He has gotten 25, 31, and then 39 snaps. He started that game against CMU, and then 72 snaps against Nebraska. Got his second start on Saturday. How about Elijah Dotson at the safety position? 17 snaps in the opener against New Mexico, 0 against Oklahoma, 12 a week ago against Central Michigan, and then 21 against Nebraska. Kind of like the third-string safety, but he's not getting third-string safety snaps. Getting a little bit, I guess CMU mostly were scrub snaps. The Nebraska ones weren't, right? 21 against Nebraska. And then Shamari Earls didn't play in the opener, and then reportedly got hurt doing something against Oklahoma, so missed that game, or maybe it was the first game and then missed the Oklahoma, whatever it was, and then played 12 snaps against Central Michigan, 12 snaps at cornerback against Nebraska. Love to see it. Love that these guys aren't liabilities. Love that they're not making stupid plays. They're not the ones getting penalties. They're not the ones hitting guys, above the head. They're not the ones taunting other teams. They are making plays. Jayden Sanders is turning into a star right before our eyes, and I love to see it. Reminder before we go, 36,000 subscribers is our next 1,000 subscriber milestone. We are about 400 away. Please subscribe to the channel if you love Michigan football news, rumors, updates, opinions, and if you enjoyed what you saw today. We'll be back on Tuesday with another Michigan football report. Till then, go Blue.